join us this morning. I love that we've got standing room only in here. Ollie's just went across the way to get some chairs for you. So we'll get everybody a seat so you can sit down and enjoy your meeting. I'm glad to see so many people here this morning. I hope that's a good thing. But we're going to get going this morning. Again, thank you for joining us today. My video person is taking care of the stuff that I don't know how to do. Thank you, Annalise. So, they call me the fireman. No, I'm playing. Okay. So, good morning, Webb. I'm so happy that you decided to start your morning here with us. Thank you, first of all, for coming, for taking the time out of your day to come in and hear what's going on in the community. Our front page photo today is Rosie the firefighter, right? We've got a theme going. She's been known to spend her time putting out sparks before they become flames in Webb. There you go. That's right. I have to give a little precursor to that. The reason that I'm so witty is because I normally do these the morning before I get here. So that happened about 1 o'clock this morning, so forgive me if I was a little out there. We'll begin today's meeting with Dr. Al Campo presenting gym health for us this morning. I think it's imperative. We don't realize how quickly we pass germs, and I'm excited to have him present for us on gym health this morning. After that, Sandy Noto, our new assistant manager at Webb Orlando, is going to update residents on several different issues. And then I'll come back and talk to you about some exciting things that are happening in the pub. And I'm going to follow that up with what's been going on in the community. That's why I think we have so many people here this morning. Everybody's excited. The hurricane's over. Rose, there's still trees down. We'll talk about that. And those signs, my goodness, what happened to the signs? But we're going to talk about all of that. And we're going to, of course, address this big stack of questions I've got over here, although I think I'll address most of them through my presentation, but we'll make sure we address all of those things. And, as always, a little something to make you smile before you leave, since we don't have any donuts. So, let's begin this morning with Dr. Al.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm not here to tell you how to pick up weights, how not to pick up an infection in the gym. Now, unfortunately, unlike some of my other talks, this is going to get a little bit more technical, but I think we'll make it enjoyable for you. You all remember Animal House, of course. Knowledge is good. I want to start out with the infectious process. Now, this is true wherever you are, not just in the gym, whether you're in a restaurant, touching a tabletop. This process is in effect wherever you go. There are three principles. The first one is exposure, the second one is transmission, and the third is susceptibility versus virulence of the organism. That really determines whether you're going to catch the infection or not. Let me go back to exposure again and just make some points here. Number one, you don't have to run in directly to a person who is ill. That infection or germ can be left on inanimate objects, such as in the gym, of course, on mats and benches, and even on the treadmill handlebars, it can be left there. Second is, there are carriers out there. There are people and animals who don't show any sign of infection, but still have the germ on them, and they can leave it behind on other stuff. And thirdly, animals can also convey infection to us. I want to talk a little bit about susceptibility. Actually, we're fairly well designed to resist infection. We have barriers, natural barriers such as our skin. We also have active defense systems, and we're going to talk about those a little bit later, and that's where it gets a little technical. Good habits also prevent infection, and I hope everyone knows what I'm talking about, hand washing. Say, I need to wash my hands.
I need to wash my hands.
Great. Also, unfortunately, as we get older, our systems, our barriers and our defense systems weaken. And actually, this was in the news recently. for the last couple of years, we've had some mumps outbreaks. And when we were younger, when we were kids, we all received MMR, three shots of MMR, measles, mumps, and rubella. These are viruses. And it turns out, apparently, that our mumps vaccination is running out. And there's some talk of seniors getting revaccinated for mumps. And of course, some microorganisms are so virulent that our defense systems and barriers cannot resist them. And the first one that comes to my mind is tuberculosis. I have a diagram of the anatomy of the skin for you, and this is our first defense system. This is probably the largest defense system of the body. It consists of an epidermis and a dermis, okay? The epidermis is like a huge shield. As the cells are pushed upward on the epidermis, they're matted together, they die, they're matted together, and they form a fairly impenetrable shield for us. Actually, they're waterproof, so you really don't need a raincoat. The dermis is right below that, and it's very vascular. If anyone's ever cut themselves, you know how quickly you bleed. So there's a lot of blood vessels in the dermal area, and if for a reason the epidermis is violated, something gets through, the vascularity of the skin allows our active defense systems to respond fairly quickly. This is where we're going to get a little technical. Okay, we've talked about the skin. We have other natural barriers. We have the acid in our stomach. That a lot of bacteria cannot tolerate that and die. And of course, if you ever had heartburn, you understand why. Our pH gets down to about 2 in the stomach. We have cilia in our airways in our lungs. These are small hairs that actually sweep away debris that would come into the airways of the lungs, and these particles that would be swept away do carry germs on them, so they're swept away. As an aside, I want to tell you, smoking actually kills these hairs, and it's the reason why smokers get more infections in their lungs. Wrong button. My fingers are too big for this. Colonization. This is an interesting concept. We have bacteria on our skin and in our gut. We actually have a lot of bacteria on our skin and in our gut. And we have a good relationship with this bacteria. It's not horribly virulent. It ordinarily doesn't cause infection. And what it does is the numbers are so high, any type of virulent organism or pathogen that we may acquire, it helps crowd it out, limits its ability to multiply and become significant. We also have immune cells that line our gut and at entry points, whether it be the nose or the mouth, and probably the one you're most familiar with is the tonsils. The tonsils are nothing but a collection of immune cells at the entry point of the nose and mouth that would recognize infection and hopefully kill it immediately. We also have active defense systems, our inflammatory system and our immune system. And I'd like to just spend a little bit of time with you on these two systems, as complicated as they may seem, just because they're occasionally in the news, okay? This is the inflammatory system here. We all really know the inflammatory system. That little sore you get on your skin that swells up, becomes red, painful, and warm to touch, that's your inflammatory system. It responds immediately to any invasion and is fairly efficient. The end result, if it's able to kill the germ, is you all know is pus. That's the fact that it's killed the germ. Now, if the inflammatory system, which is our first backup system, isn't able to kill the germ, then the immune system comes into play. This is the immune system. And it's fairly complicated, but let me summarize it for you. If the immune system is called into play, what it does is it actually, if you will, eats the germ, processes it, recognizes it, knows everything about it. It becomes very specific. And subsequent to that, it produces antibodies. And those antibodies are very specific to that organism and will attack it and kill the germ. Secondarily, it produces killer cells. They're called cytogenetic T cells. And these T cells actually can kill cells. and they will go out, and if for some reason the virus or bacteria is hiding within the cell, they will actually kill the cell and kill the bacteria or the virus. Now this has been in the news recently, and in the last, I'd say only the last couple of years, we've gained the ability to program these killer cells to go after tumor cells. And this is what you've read in the news lately. Apparently they've had some success with this with melanoma, some success with lung cancer, and with the lymphomas and leukemias. We have a number of entry points. Of course, we have our nose, our mouth, we have our breaks in the skin, and the genital and rectal areas are all entry points. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this in relevance in a little while. I need to get back to the gym. Sorry about that. Transmission in the gym is really from bare skin to bare skin. In other words, you have bare skin that has touched a contaminated piece of the gym, whether it be a weight or a mat or any of the equipment at all that has bacteria or germs on it. And then what you do is you use your hands and you start touching your nose, your mouth, and that's how the infection can get inside you. We, of course, learned this as kids, as with our hands we touched everything and then rubbed our nose and mouth, okay? This is a third base coach. Never shake hands with this guy. There's a story behind this. When I was in training in Detroit at Ford Hospital, every once in a while the Tiger management would come over and say, listen, we need one of your residents to be doctor of the day over at the baseball game. Could you come? We were fairly inexpensive labor, by the way. But we got to meet the Detroit Tiger baseball team, shake hands with them, and we quickly learned never shake hands with the third base coach. If you've ever seen a baseball game, this man's hands have been everywhere. And he's never walked. Did you ever see a third base coach wash his hands? I thought I'd spend just a few minutes telling you what you could run into in the gym. And this is a schematic of a virus. Virus is an interesting organism. It basically is genetic material wrapped in a capsule. There really is no cell. It has no cellular machinery. It either has DNA or RNA, which are the genetic materials. And when it attacks, it attaches to the cell, infuses this genetic material in it, and takes over the cell's machinery, producing new viral particles. By the way, examples would be shingles, is a virus, plantar's warts, and even the flu. This is a real bad actor. This is MRSA. This is methicillin-resistant Staph aureus. Okay, and it's resistant to a lot of antibiotics. This is the typical abscess that you would get with MRSA. And here you see the abscess with the red streak going on. That means it's penetrated the epidermis, is into the dermal area, and is headed to get into the body. This is a typical fungus you might find in the gym or pick up in the gym. This is ringworm. It has these, it's not a worm at all, it's actually a fungus, and it has this rounded shape to it. The technical term for it is Tinea corpus. I don't know if you want to remember that or not. I put together 7 habits of gym health for you. You need to clean the gym equipment before and after. That's really important. Cover the open sores. And the corollary to covering open sores, if you're sick, particularly with bowel-type problems, you shouldn't go to the gym.